Yes, everyone, good morning. Welcome to Match Day. Manchester United fans around the world looking forward to seeing all of our new guns on the pitch at Old Trafford today. That is later on, though. We'll get into that, obviously, this afternoon when the game is finished and everything. We'll get all of your reactions to the game. There will be a match reaction later on here on YouTube as well, breaking everything down from what we've seen at Old Trafford today. But getting into the big stuff, the transfer stuff. This window is really opening up in the last few weeks of it. Now, we've heard about all the stuff with Belaba, more on him this morning as well. But what about Adam Wharton? Why am I even talking about Adam Wharton? Well, last night's show, if you didn't watch it, there was a story that was going to be broken later on last evening about Manchester United's other options. If, for instance, we didn't have enough money, we didn't make the sales, we couldn't make Belaba happen. We are still trying to get Belaba, by the way. That is still top target. All that information coming up in a moment, of course. But Adam Wharton is another one who has a gentleman's agreement to leave Crystal Palace, but that's not till next summer. Now, that's what I originally thought and knew anyway, but there are stories going around that could potentially be the case with Adam Wharton leaving maybe this summer. Could it actually be moved forward a year? A question that's going to be asked, of course, but this is aside from Belaba. I was going to do a separate video on Adam Wharton last night, but I thought, no, I want to gauge the live chat on this one, just see where everybody's at, because last night we did a poll of different midfielders that could be brought in by Manchester United, going off the rumours, going off the reports, if Belaba didn't happen. Wharton was on the list. So too was Hulman, so too was Edison, and so too was the Stuttgart midfielder. I can't remember his bloody name now. I think it's, I can't remember anyway. It's just left my mind completely. I'm thinking about the game today and everything. Sorry about that, everyone. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that no one had Adam Wharton leading the way. The poll didn't, and from watching how this lad has actually taken to the Premier League from joining Palace from Blackburn, I was taken aback how nobody wanted Wharton. But I did make the point last night that once you get a taste of the high life, once you get a taste of the good stuff, you never want to go back down to anything else. And Carlos Belaba is the number one for Manchester United. And because we know that he is a potential signing and can happen, nobody wants to know about it. So what Romano was saying last night on Belaba and what the other source was saying on Adam Wharton is what we're starting with today in the show. Of course, we have got the update on Garnacho, one on Sancho also. Donnarumma rumour is actually floating around again. I'm going to try and put it to bed. I'm trying to anyway. People are still clinging on to it as a hope because Manchester United can afford him. It's crazy, but we'll get into that also. We're going to talk about the obvious, which is the game today. Sesko spotted in Manchester in the Ivy, as every single new player is. That's like the restaurant that they go to every time a new player signs for United, unless obviously like it's Mbeumo and Cunha who were brought in at the early stages of pre-season. But now, looking at this, I think everybody's looking forward to today later on. So, yeah, we'll get into the match stuff as well in the show. But, yeah, let's gauge the thoughts of the chat. Let's get involved, everybody. Get your comments in. Talk to me. We're having a sort of match day build-up, but transfer hit or transfer packed show also this morning. So, Adam Wharton is the question I want to pose. The story said last night, Manchester United have contacted Crystal Palace and Adam Wharton representatives. Now, they know and have been made aware of this so-called gentleman's agreement in Adam Wharton's contract. So I'm not saying that this just makes you feel like it's not the end of the world if you don't get Belaba, but obviously he is top target for Manchester United, and everything, like I just said, seems like it's second rate if you don't get him. Anything less than Belaba now is going to feel like we've lost out. Like I said, like you get the taste of the high life and you never want to go back down again. So Belaba is there. Wharton, just before we move on to Belaba's story, this was what came out last night that we were talking about, that the gentleman's agreement's there, but there is a chance that that could be fast forwarded. Now, obviously, Crystal Palace were hit with the with the ban from Europe. Well, not banned from Europe, but they got degraded down to the Conference League, got knocked out of the Europa League by UEFA. They're obviously appealing that right now as we speak. But the thought is that there may be some players that were thinking a season in the Europa League might be good, stay at Palace for another season. Obviously, you're looking at Eza potentially moving to Arsenal as well. They wouldn't want to lose Wharton also. So United are really looking at realistic targets. So I think Wharton, personally, looking at this, I see I see that both of these players can be gotten by Manchester United. They're both going to fetch pretty substantial bids. In the case of Belaba, it will be a record transfer fee for Manchester United if we got him. That, I think that is clear from what's been said. Both of these players have got GoFundMe pages right now for Manchester United fans to go and buy them. So I don't think anybody's bothered about Wharton coming in if we don't get Belaba. I think he's still a quality player, but everybody pips Belaba as the best. Now, Ruben Amorim obviously sees him as the #1 target for him. He is the spearhead, the main man in his midfield, and all of them stories have been circulating as well. But Wharton, I think, is a signing for next summer. Personally, I think United are securing themselves or putting themselves in the picture ready to get Wharton. I think that agreement will be next summer. I think there's no way that it can be fast forwarded. I would like Wharton. I love him as a player. I think he's fantastic. I think it's something that Manchester United should have been looking at themselves. And this makes you think, like with the Hayden Hackney sort of things, like the Chris Riggs and the Bellingham type of deals, a player coming up from the Championship and smashing it in the Premier League. It's easier to do it in the smaller clubs and not so simple to do it at a big club with the expectations. And this is what United have to do. They have to pay a premium to allow these players to come through at other clubs. I said this before, United are bringing in very, very young players through their academy to try and hope that they develop and then turn into these players that we don't have to then go out and buy for massive amounts of money. But if there is someone that is touted as the next best thing in the Championship, it's very, very unlikely that you'll see him go into one of the bigger clubs. It does happen. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it doesn't happen straight away in most cases. So Wharton, I think Manchester United, I think they're positioning themselves for next summer, personally. If Belaba doesn't happen this summer, maybe United could push for Wharton in, let's just say, January. Because let's not forget, Manchester United are not in European, not got European football. There are different options for Manchester United. Nobody is off the table. We have got money to spend in January if we don't get these players in now. So don't count out any sort of deal happening in January. Like, for instance, Manchester United may feel like they've got just enough for the start of this season to see themselves through into January, and then potentially be looking at making more moves then if nothing has happened this summer. So by that I mean that United, obviously, if we haven't got time, the players that we're looking to sell to fund these deals don't happen until late on in the window, and therefore not enough time for us to put a bid in for someone we want. The money's still there and we can go and get them in January. Not ideal, but obviously Manchester United still have the option of using the money we make from these players if they want to drag us to deadline day in January. It's still there. I can't see anyone wanting to sell their biggest players though in January. That's the side act of that one. Obviously it's going to be one of them, like going to Crystal Palace or Brighton and say, we want to take your best midfielder away in January in the middle of a season. You know it's not going to happen, but look, there could still be something that could come around in January, maybe a loan or something like that. I think them days for United are gone now, personally. That's how I see this now. And that takes us into the talk of bringing in one of these players when we should be buying them, which is in the summer transfer window. Fully preparing for a season. No makeshift seasons where we're actually scraping around for the first half of the season, then getting it right in January and getting a better half. Let's have a full season of properly organised football and getting players in that we realistically need now. And I think this is what Manchester United are doing. They're making a real effort to try and get the players now for Ruben Amorim. So we are ready to go for the full entirety of the season, I feel. So with Adam Wharton, again, I like the player. I like the thought of it. The story does actually make sense to me. That's what I've heard in terms of he wants to be at Crystal Palace for one more year. I think that's what he knows as well. And then he'll look to move on. Obviously, though, like we said before, Wharton, Belaba, if they're available now, United are in the best position out of all of the clubs. Everyone else has pretty much got their eggs in other baskets and have already bought in that area of the pitch. I don't know if City would be tempted now with that update on Rodri's injury, even though it's not long. He has had a setback. Personally, Wharton next summer, like I said, I think United have got their sights set on Belaba. I do. There's no one better than him. And United would only go for a top target and go all in for a top target, I think, this summer. There are other options. But I'm using the example here. It's like with the striker situation. Manchester United weren't interested in anybody else. They wanted Mbeumo, they wanted Cunha. You could have said they could have got Semenyo, they could have got Diblin. No, no. So when I hear about Wharton, when I hear stories that he has been contacted by Manchester United, I think, yeah, we've contacted him, but we have our sights set. And when we set our sights on the prime target, we go all out for that. So I just don't think Wharton comes into it until Belaba is completely off the table. So no, I don't think Manchester United will sign Adam Wharton. We will sign him next summer if we've not bought Belaba this summer, because I don't think Belaba, I mean, you could get him next summer if United do well, but I think it's going to come down to Champions League football next season. I think if Belaba doesn't move this summer and then he has an option next season to move to another bigger club, I think Champions League will creep into it then, maybe. We have found out, though, that Belaba is a Manchester United supporter. So, yeah, that is something to bear in mind also on this one. But, yeah, right, let's get into some of the comments on Wharton. Let's get into the chat right now. We're going to move on to Belaba next and where we're at with that deal from Romano last night. First of all, Ant says, Wharton is great, but not the profile we need. I disagree with that. I think he's perfect for United. I do. I don't think he's better than Belaba, though. It's just what I'm going to say every single time. Adam, we must buy Donnarumma. This would be the signing of the season. I am not religious, but please, football gods, says Brits Abroad. It would be it would be an amazing signing for Manchester United. I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's going to happen later on in this show. So stay tuned. Donnarumma is coming up. Big Bad Phil says, you staying in Ibiza till we sign someone? No, I'm back. I'll be back in the morning. So, yeah, this is my last day here in Ibiza. We fly out later tonight. So, yes, content will be a bit mixed up later on. We might have to just adapt it in a certain way to get your updates out later on. But don't worry, of course, I'll have everything covered here on FUTV Night TV. One way or the other, the news gets out to you, as a promise. But yes, last day in Ibiza. I did get the confirmation on Sesko. First day I arrived here was Sesko bid in. A couple of days later, Sesko signed. And today we'll get the unveiling. All while I've been in Ibiza. So you can thank me later, everybody, anyway. I can just drop the comments into the comment section and say, well done, Adam, you've done it again. I've done a lot this summer with these signings, honestly. They only happen. If anyone's wondering, or if you're new to the channel, by the way, what I'm talking about right now, it's that every time I do go away, United make a signing or something significant happens in the transfer window. So I'm deliberately going abroad all the time just to get signings done. Just joking. Peter says, Adam, do you think if we sell Sancho, Garnacho, that we could go for both of them? Just thinking out loud. No, because I think United want a midfielder and a keeper. I still think Senny Lamens is going to be the goalkeeper, and United will buy one of the midfielders that we're actually talking about at the moment. I don't think Manchester United are going to spend big on a midfielder if we cannot get Belaba. I think if there's a big signing, I think it'll be someone, it'll be like Belaba. I am not giving up on Belaba, by the way. I think there is something genuinely happening with this. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. Let's get a few more comments in. Joe says, Adam, January is way too late to fix the enormous hole in the middle of our midfield. Yeah, I know what you're saying, mate. If we didn't get him, and we couldn't get him because our players that we've got right now that we're trying to sell didn't want to play ball. I'm just being realistic with it from that side of it, that's all, buddy. Good morning, everyone. I'm in Manchester, ready for the game, says Stu Cantona. Good on you, mate. Nick says Donnarumma and Belaba, and we're heading for the top 4. I think a lot of people would agree with that one, 100%. Chris says we get Belaba and we will pay 95 million. Nacho out, Højlund on loan. We've got updates on Højlund and Garnacho coming up as well. Another super chat in from Ross. Thank you very much, matey. Schedule your January transfer window vacation now. Somewhere in the southern hemisphere. Chase the summer. Yeah, we'll see. Be away for the January transfer window and make something happen. I don't think United are at that point now. I think we did something just for Ruben last January. I really don't think Manchester United are going to be spending loads unless something really pops up that is attractive to United in January. I just don't see it happening. But look, never say never, as they say. Anything is doable. Moving on to Belaba, let's get into what Romano said last night. And Fabrizio Romano came out in his latest video last night saying that Manchester United are calm. very calm with the situation with Belaba. Obviously, they know that sales are paramount now. We need to get players out of the door. But Manchester United have indeed been in touch with Belaba's agents for the last 48 hours. Since they touched base with Brighton, there has been constant contact between the agent and the player and Manchester United representatives. There is a real feel now from Belaba's side that this deal can happen. The players' side of it wants it completely. Manchester United feel like they have turned Belaba's head with their approach to Brighton. It's not a half-hearted approach. They have gone to the club. Brighton know of the approach from Manchester United. It's not like we're just trying to tap up the player and find out what his thoughts are, whether we can get something to happen out of this. United are genuinely in for Brighton's Belaba because we have contacted them, as we reported the last 2 days. Romano is constantly on this. Every single show he does at the moment, he's mentioning Carlos Belaba and the potential move to Manchester United. United very calm and feel like they have got enough time left in the window. Yes, time is ticking and we need to get things moving if we are going to bring Carlos Belaba in. But still, Manchester United feel like they're in a position to move for Carlos Belaba with the sales that they have coming. Let's not forget, Manchester United can commit to signing Belaba before we sign players. It just has to be done in the knowledge that United can actually sell these players still within this financial year. So we can put the down payment in and go overdrawn for Belaba. First payment in, agreed with Brighton, that's done. Go overdrawn, but then bring that money back in again from sales, even if it is on the last day of the window. So United's approach to this, you could say it's a tiny little bit of a gamble, because obviously Ruben Amorim has come out and said that any player that Manchester United are selling or want away from the club, if their targets and price tags are not met, then they're going to be Man United players. So could United actually buy Belaba, thinking that down the line we might not sell these players, therefore have the money to balance the books to cover the transfer or the first year transfer instalments for Carlos Belaba? But I think there is a real confidence in Manchester United right now. There was one report yesterday and another one from Gimme Sport as well. I don't think it was Gimme Sport who came up with this line, but the one line that did stand out to me was that there is a definite confidence from within Manchester United that transfers are going to happen. It's either that or the handbrake has been completely let off. Where are Manchester United getting these funds from? I don't know, but they must have something in the pipeline that they feel confident in getting these deals done. By the way, the reports on Marcus Rashford are that that buy option for Barcelona is definitely going to be triggered. There was a confidence within Manchester United that Marcus Rashford was definitely going to be off the books. And don't forget, and we've said this all along, Manchester United are replacing players with players that they're already paying for that are coming under the PSR threshold. So for instance, Rashford's gone, in comes Mbumo. You get rid of Garnacho, in comes Cunha. You get rid of Rasmus Højlund, here comes Benjamin Sesko. And then players are all costing Manchester United less than what the players that left are. Apart from Rashford, but that's just his wages. And that are coming off the books right now. And don't forget what Manchester United has raised in revenues. Don't forget that already this summer. And we've mentioned this many a times. There is money coming into Manchester United. There is definitely money there. Next summer, we will have money in player sales, because obviously there could be some obligations in play for Manchester United here. So let's just look at it this way. Manchester United right now are looking at Belaba coming in. It's going to cost them upwards of 90 million. That's going to be for Manchester United around 20 to 25 million pounds in instalments each year. That's what it's going to cost if they can do the right deal with Brighton. It may cost more if they want the instalments in a shorter term, i.e. instead of 4 years, it'll be 3 years. Then the fee goes up. That's where United may come unstuck. But what Manchester United will be doing now is calculating the worst case scenario to then go all in. So if United make an approach, or this moves on to the next level of negotiations with Carlos Belaba and Brighton, then you know that Manchester United have managed to find the finances and can get this deal done. Garnacho is massive on this one. Yesterday we had the problem. We talked about it actually yesterday in 2 different videos. But last night Sky Sports came out and said Manchester United's valuation is 50 million plus add-ons for Garnacho. That's realistic. Chelsea's stance on this is that they will wait till the end of the window, till deadline day, knowing that they will get that bid, will get that cheaper. They will definitely be able to get that price down for Manchester United. Honestly, it's so freaking frustrating. And yesterday I said, like, I just want to see him rot. I want to see him rot. I don't want to buckle to Chelsea. But what is the greater good? If you take a £40 million bid for Garnacho from Chelsea right on deadline day, what does that do? Are we really disappointed in that? Do we think about that transfer as much, though, and the price that we got for it and being stung by Chelsea again, if it helps Manchester United bring in Carlos Belaba? That's the question. That's what you have to think about now in these circumstances, because 40 million for Garnacho still gets you Carlos Belaba. That 100% does, because like I said before, you then look towards next summer where United probably won't be doing as much business unless we get into the Champions League. If we get Carlos Belaba, then we're heading towards the Champions League. It has to be. So this summer, if Manchester United bought Carlos Belaba, the first instalment's pretty much all covered by Garnacho. So the first couple of years with that fee, even if it's 40 million, that's covered by Garnacho and that sale. So this summer and next summer's instalments for Belaba covered. Done. Past that, the sign-on for Rashford, the extra 20 plus million that we're going to get for Marcus Rashford, that's in the bank. Casemiro's wages, near 20 million a year, gone. That's in the bank already for next summer. Plus, excuse me, anything else that might happen in terms of sales for Manchester United. Obviously, more players are down the line. This is what takes us to the Rasmus Højlund news, which again is circulating this morning. £35 million option to buy after a £5 million loan fee. Again, if that is triggered next summer, that money's there. And all of a sudden, Manchester United are mounting money up. Added to that, in the next financial year, if United are in Europe, this is the gamble that Manchester United have to look at and have to take, I think, right now. Because this summer is when you get players like Belaba. An opportunity has come around for United this summer where we can make things happen. And this, I think, is massive for the club. So if Chelsea want to take Garnacho till the end of the transfer window, Manchester United will know within their banking, the bottom line that Chelsea are looking at, they probably know where Chelsea are probably going to bid. Can that afford Manchester United Garnacho? Well, if Chelsea want to lowball us on the bid, then Manchester United may demand how much Chelsea put down this summer. Because let's not forget, it's all about affordability. Now, the overall cost in time will work well for Manchester United if we get more for Garnacho. But if Chelsea are going to lowball us, Manchester United could say to them, well, if you want to pay that price, then you pay a bigger down payment this summer. Because obviously they're going to want to do instalments as well. And it works both ways. So if United get a bigger down payment for Garnacho this summer off that deal, then that pays for the first year at least of Carlos Belaba. Then everything else that's coming next summer gets the next one done. But this is all geared towards trusting Ruben Amorim and this team and being back in Europe. It is a bit of a gamble. It is a massive gamble for Manchester United because you don't know if we're going to perform this season. Do you trust in what you've got? Do you trust in the recruitment and your new data analysis team that you've spent a fortune on in bringing into Manchester United to get it right this season? There has to be some point where United just go, bang, let's make this work. Let's just go for these players now and get them in and let's see if we can get back into Europe. I don't think it's as extreme as that. Like, it's this season or nothing. I think United can still survive the next season because we've got these players. And if Ruben doesn't make it happen, some other manager will get the best out of these players. I fully believe that Ruben will. United will be back in Europe next season, guaranteed. More gate receipts, obviously, more money for Manchester United, and we will be able to balance the books some way, or one way or another, going forward. But it is going to be difficult for Manchester United in making this decision, I think, because there is that ultimate gamble that we might not actually make it happen. We might not get back into Europe. It might fail with these players. I just think they've spent so much effort in building an environment, a culture, new surroundings, better players, bigger decision makers, really stamping out the crap and the shit that has dragged Manchester United down for years now. I just think that they're all in on this and they're going to go for it. I do. I think they're going to go for Belaba. Everything is pointing in that direction. I don't think Manchester United are thinking like this is a bad purchase, even if they break the bank. Even if they bid 90 million plus for Belaba this summer, I think United will look at this as a massive investment. Look, Brighton and their data analysis and everything that they're looking at, they feel like he is going to be worth 120 million next summer. 120 million. That is more than what Caicedo went for. That is staggering. So if you're paying around about 90 million for a playoff and you're worrying about it, that thought alone, with the way that United are now operating and playing catch up with all the other football clubs, the data analysis side of things and everything like that, you are pretty secure in what you're doing, I think. And investing into a future star, yeah, he could fail still, but what, you're looking at numbers, you're looking at performances, you're looking at the trajectory of the player and his performances, they're all going up. You have to, at some point, trust in the actual system and what's actually going on, trust the numbers and say, yeah, this is the player for us. Ruben knows what this player is. He's an absolute baller. I think it's going to happen. I don't think the money's going to be a problem for United. I think they're just looking at it and structuring it in a way. And nobody knows, by the way, and let's not forget, in September, Manchester United's figures are all going to come out. United's figures will come out and we'll find out exactly how much Manchester United have saved in the cutting of jobs and staff. Nobody knows what's happened. All we know is that Ineos came in, he had the interview with Gary Neville, we're going to be bust by December, and all of that talk and everything that was going on then. All anybody knows is that Manchester United needed Sir Jim Ratcliffe's investment at that time. But what about after that, after he's made all the cuts? And how much money Manchester United have saved through all of the redundancies and everything like that. Nobody's talking about things like this because nobody knows the figures. How much Manchester United might have afforded in their annual figures to bring in more players. Like, there was obviously clear room for manoeuvre with Matthias Cunha in putting him on last year's books. So, yeah, let's see what comes out in September's figures with Manchester United. Then we will know. But we could have been saving fortunes. There was one rumour that said it saved Manchester United approximately 50 million in all of the cuts that they made throughout the club and all of the savings. 50 million for Manchester United, excuse me, in terms of PSR for 1 year. That's a lot. That's a lot of movement in a transfer window, it is. Right, keep your comments coming in on this. Do you think that Manchester United will still buy Belaba even if we get lowballed by Garnacho? And do you feel like Manchester United will stand firm on Garnacho and not sell him or just be forced into letting him go? How do you see it panning out? Get into the comments section, everybody. Let's see what we've got. Hi, Adam. Do you think we will get Belaba deal over the line? I think I just answered that one, Shako. I think we will get him, mate. I think United will go in for him. I think there'll be a real effort with all of the resources that we've got to make it happen. Ben Jacobs was talking about Rasmus Højlund and that deal. That deal was Rasmus Højlund 5 million and then 35 million at the end of the loan. Now, we know that Rasmus doesn't want to go, and the internal discussions at Manchester United are them cutthroat ones right now that are happening. Remember when we said United need to be ruthless in the transfer market? They need to make decisions that probably won't go down well in some quarters, probably will upset a few people. Likeable characters within the club might have to go. Rasmus Højlund is top of that list, it would seem, at the moment. He is seen as a real playoff, and a loan, I think, would suit Manchester United. Again, we said it last night, saving 8 million on Rasmus Højlund this season in the finances goes towards the 14 million that we saved on Marcus Rashford. That takes that to 22 million saved this year. And then, you know what I'm saying, there's the first instalment for Belaba if you can negotiate the right deal. Anthony going, Sancho going, Garnacho going, Malacia going, just keeps topping it up and topping it up. And all of a sudden, United can bring in Belaba. The holy grail, and the one thing I will say about everything with this is, talking about Belaba coming in, talking about the players that are going out, Manchester United know, and Ineos will know, the only way this club survives is by being in the Champions League. So your target and your gamble and your risks and your risk assessment, whatever you're doing, planning out for the future of this football club and how it survives, is all based around getting back into the Champions League. Nothing else matters. Nothing else works for Manchester United, and summers like this will just be a pipe dream in the future if we don't get Champions League football. That's where this club is at right now. And Ineos will know this. Manchester United know they need to be playing in the Champions League. That's where the money is. If you get there, then anything is possible for Manchester United. And this is where nobody wants United to be. No opposition wants Manchester United to be in this position anyway. So, yeah, let's see what gambles they do make. But to answer the questions on Belaba, I do believe that United will go for him. I think we can make the deal happen. I think this has been talked about for weeks before. Now, I think there's already things in motion. The fact that it's the first time the story came out, we had comments from Brighton tell me that something was actually already happening or they already knew about it. There is too much smoke with this one for this not to be moving. And Manchester United have really just said, I feel like, this is the last chance you're going to get Carlos Belaba in. Then you've got to go for it now. Make something happen. I think we've got room. I really do. I really do think we've got room to get Belaba with the players that are leaving. Please keep the likes coming in. We have just gone over the 500 live like mark. Please also make sure you hit that subscribe button, everybody. Bringing you the Manchester United news and updates live from Ibiza. We're coming back tomorrow, so back in the studio from tomorrow morning, everybody. So today's contents will be the last here from the island. So yes, match reaction later on as well. No watch along today because obviously, facility-wise and equipment, it's just not doable today. So transfers were more important. I sacrificed the watch-along just so we could bring you Benjamin Sesko. And that's what happened. So, yeah, that was a sacrifice we had to make. Appreciation, everybody, please, on that. I'm joking again. Belaba is the missing piece, a cherry on the top. Definitely. Ant says, listen, you don't work for instant gratification. If you have any sense, you build for the future. Apparently, Brighton already have his replacement. Yes, I heard about that. I can't remember the kid's bleeding name now, but good point there as well, Anthony Hilton in the chat, because there is a player there that they are wanting to get a little bit more experience or wanted to have just a tad bit more before they sold him on. Brighton's model, wow. You have to hold your hands up and say, like, well done, Brighton. Like, absolutely fantastic business model in terms of their recruitment and everything. The fact that they already knew and their plan was Belaba goes next summer. This other player has had another year under his belt and he's ready to come in and replace him. And they make millions out of it. It is something to admire, isn't it, Brighton, and what's happening with them and how they do business. It's crazy, but look, this is United's position right now. Brighton are not aiming to be in the Champions League. Their money comes from selling these players that they find. They are a feeder club for the rest of the big guns in the Premier League, and they have accepted that. That's the difference. Adam is the Ibiza final boss. I've not seen him while I've been out here. To be honest, I've not been going to the venues that kid will be going to anyway. But no, I am the FUTV Ibiza final boss. That's what's happening. That trend has gone mental, hasn't it? Like, oh my God, what that kid has just done. He's done nothing, to be honest. He's just got famous by dressing a certain way and being pictured. But no, let's get some more super chats in. The final Ibiza boss. Ibiza final boss, sorry. Bring Belaba in now and have some sort of an agreement with Wharton in place to bring him in next summer. Sell Bruno next summer. Donnarumma is a must also. In terms of, like, don't forget, like, Bruno Fernandes could be his last year. All of them talks about this being Bruno Fernandes' last year in Manchester United. He could be sold and that could be big money for United next summer. Maybe that's something that's happening behind the scenes. You just don't know, do you? But there is clear confidence in Manchester United right now that they can go for Belaba. And I think something will happen this summer. I really do. Joseph says, if Belaba will be our DM, why wouldn't we sell Agate to raise money? Look, I think it's all about depth. Like, going into the Champions League next season. You see what I said there? And getting ahead of myself, I know. Well, good point, Joseph, on this one. But I think Manchester United know, like, look, Agate's 23. This kid could actually smash it find his feet and turn into the player that we bought from PSG. Look, there is genuine talent there in Agate. Yeah, he's not the finished article. He's inconsistent. I know all of this. But to have him there as a reserve at the moment, I think Casemiro is leaving. Obviously, that's going to get us money next season. You might see the back end of Bruno. So you'll have two holding midfielders. And then maybe next summer, you could go all out for a really good number 8. You could push the boat out. Because let's be honest, we're not going to go out, or we're not necessarily going to need to go out and buy any forwards next summer, are we? Look, you've got Chido coming through, developing another year under his belt. Manchester United's academy is bringing players through left, right and centre in that area. We've already secured for the next few years with what we've bought this summer up front. We know we've got 2 aging midfielders. Obviously, one in Casemiro, who is definitely playing his last season, and possibly Bruno Fernandes, both well into the 30s. Maybe that's where United replace Agate, and obviously you've got Agate and Belaba if we buy him, and then looking forward, be like, you could bring in a number 8. God knows what's going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo at this point. That's another player we've got to think about possibly next summer as well. If he doesn't get the game time he wants this season, is Kobbie Mainoo a player that might end up being sold by Manchester United next summer? I think this season everybody is focused on giving Kobbie the time and trying to develop, turn into a different player, but also what we're looking at here is, I think, a real test for Kobbie this season, whether he can adapt or not. I'm not convinced at all that he's going to get the amount of game time that he wants. So you've got Kobbie, you've got Bruno, you've got Casemiro. The midfield next summer could be absolutely huge for Manchester United in how we actually raise funds as well. So I don't think many people have spoken about that, but in terms of how we afford players in the future and these future instalments, let's not forget what Manchester United have also got that could be leaving next summer. There's a lot of money coming in. And if you back that up by getting back into Europe this season, then United can continue recruiting the way that they are doing now. So that, I think, is big. Ian in the chat says, always delivering the best news to us. Cheers, top work. Keep the pedal to the metal. Of course, mates, always here. Right, okay. Let's try and put to bed the Donnarumma situation, shall we? I have got Sancho news coming up as well. We better get on with it, haven't we? So, latest on Gianluigi Donnarumma is Manchester United. Donnarumma wants a move to Manchester United. PSG have put a £26 million price tag on the goalkeeper. The player is attracted to the Premier League and more specifically Manchester United. How does Donnarumma want to come to United without Champions League football? That's the question I've got. Has he won it once? Is he happy with that now? Is that okay? I find the whole Donnarumma situation baffling. I really do. PSG didn't need to do too much to keep Donnarumma on a new contract. Why are they looking to change him? Is there something behind the scenes we don't know about? God knows what's going on at PSG anyway, but I just don't think Donnarumma, I think Chelsea will end up getting him. And that kills me saying that, I really do. I don't think Manchester City would be in for him. I just don't see Manchester United putting in a bid for Donnarumma this summer if we've still got Andre Onana. And that, again, anything can happen late on in the window. United could just say, look, we're going to loan Onana and send him somewhere else. Maybe someone else wants him. Give him a loan, pay a substantial amount of his wages for someone, let someone take him, and bring in Donnarumma at 26 million. It's a snip. And like I said, Donnarumma's wages are pretty much covered next season when Casemiro leaves anyway. So you've then got a number 1 goalkeeper for the next 10 years who you know you can afford because you're just replacing Casemiro's wages with Donnarumma's. Except this summer we're going to have to obviously pay a little bit more. But then again, this summer you've lost Marcus Rashford's wages. So that pretty much covers his. And if you do get rid of Sancho, you do get rid of Antony, you do get rid of Malacia, maybe Rasmus Højlund goals as well, then there is room within the wage structure to bring in Donnarumma. You see, I'm trying to get rid of Donnarumma and put it to bed, but every single time I do so, another story comes into the papers or online that tells us that Manchester United are in for Donnarumma. The strangest thing with Donnarumma is nobody's bid for him. Everybody knows now that he is second fiddle. Chevalier has come in from Lille and has been told by Campos, director of football, at PSG that he is going to be #1 goalkeeper at PSG. Donnarumma, officially now, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, is second fiddle to a young up-and-coming French goalkeeper. And nobody's bid for Donnarumma, and he's 26 million, and he's 26 years of age. This is prime. One of the most experienced goalkeepers who's won everything. Absolutely everything there is to win. And nobody's bidding for him. Something doesn't make sense with Donnarumma. It really doesn't. I'm still scratching my head. I want to put it to bed because I think it will be Senne Lammens for Manchester United. I think that's sensible. I think that is sensible from United. He is a great goalkeeper with masses of potential. But this, again, I said this the other day, and I used the Emi Martinez situation as an example to Donnarumma. We were talking about Emi Martinez, and everybody just feels like Donnarumma's been around forever and a day. But let's not forget, when he came through at AC Milan, he was only a kid. So it makes sense that it feels like he has been around for ages, but he's only 26. And if you're buying a 26-year-old goalkeeper, you know you're pretty much sorted for more than a decade. God, no matter how hard I try, it just stays there at the moment. But there is one man in the way, and that's Andre Onana. And again, I just don't see enough movement from Manchester United in moving Onana on to convince me that they are going to go for Donnarumma. It just doesn't have enough there for me. I'm not with it. I'd need to see a little bit more effort from Manchester United to be convinced about Donnarumma, personally. All the stories are coming from other sources right now. I know the Mirror have reported this morning. There is another story floating around from European publications this morning as well. You could say anything driven from France or Italy, don't believe in, because most of the time it's full of crap. But look, there are good journalists out there from them countries. I'm not saying there isn't. But again, until Romano comes out with it, until Ornstein comes out with it, until there is genuine stuff, like maybe even if Ben Jacobs really puts something solid down on Donnarumma, he hasn't yet. None of the big guns have. I just don't see it happening for Manchester United. I really don't. But we need a goalkeeper. Like, the goalkeeper is massive for Manchester United. 26 million. God, it seems like peanuts, doesn't it? It really does. Whichever way you look at it, yes, he's going to be on a fortune in wages. But United can afford them wages. They really can. And maybe there's an incentivised version of a contract. I'm guessing, and I'm spitballing. I'm like really just trying to find a way that we can try and squeeze this deal in. I know we can do it, but I just don't think we will. That's what I'm saying. I've not seen enough from United, and that for me is telling me everything I need to know about this. Andre Onana looks like he's going nowhere. Every time we think there is a potential movement in Onana, it gets put to bed. Someone comes out and says there's no way that United are leaving. Manchester United are wanting Andre Onana to leave the football club. It comes down to them big decisions again, doesn't it? We're about to do one with Rasmus Højlund, so why should we not be doing one with Andre Onana? Lower his price, take the sacrifice, get rid of the player. Are you willing to take a loss on him? I personally always felt that Onana would be leaving United next summer anyway. I think another year gone on his contract, leaving with one more year. I think United would maybe look to move Onana on then, because we all know that he's not good enough. He's never going to be good enough for Manchester United. Yeah, all the other players can work into a system. They can all get better and understand it, and Ruben can get into him. But there's no way that Ruben's going to be able to make Andre Onana a better decision maker, a better diver, make his agility, his jumping, his decision making coming off his line, things like this, his kicking ability. If you haven't got it at the age that Andre Onana's got it, you're not going to be able to change that in a player. And he never will be good enough as Man United's #1. I'm always going to stand by that. Even if he has good games, you know, a bad game's around the corner for him. Guaranteed. And if he does ruin anything this season, then United will rue the decision not to move Andre Onana on and bring another goalkeeper in. But they will bring another goalkeeper in. I just think it won't be Donnarumma, it'll be Senne Lammens. I'm fully convinced that it will be him, because he's a goalkeeper that Fabrizio Romano has actually brought up as well several times. So yeah, again, I think it will be Senne Lammens personally. Block with a super chat. I brought my Fire Stick to Tenerife. I'll be watching later. Chelsea are a nasty club and screwed us on Sancho. They could drop a Ghana deal at the last minute. Yeah, I expect them to try it. But again, that's down to Manchester United then to maybe get the best out of that last minute drop if they do try and lowball us. What's more important, making Garnacho sweat in the reserves or on the sidelines in Carrington because we haven't buckled to Chelsea, or taking a bid from Chelsea below what we actually want that would help us get Carlos Belaba? Lesser of two evils? Which way do we go? You tell me. Get into the comment section, everybody. On Jadon Sancho, by the way, let's not forget, there is still Jadon Sancho to get rid of, and there is money to be made there as well. So, even if Manchester United have to loan Jadon Sancho out, but at the moment, as it stands, Sancho is still waiting for Juventus. There has been no progression through Juventus at all. They are still trying to move on Nico Gonzalez to make room for Jadon Sancho. That's Juventus' stance. He's thought from the players' side of things that he is happy because he knows that there is that protection blanket in Borussia Dortmund in case Juventus doesn't come through. He wants Juventus. That's all of the noises that are coming out. And I think obviously from previously in this window, we've known that Jadon Sancho is probably going to be highly likely ending out going to Italy. But that's where he wants to go. Whether or not that happens, we don't know. He's got Dortmund to come back on. But there is still big push and more of a push this morning through reports that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Besiktas are definitely in for Jadon Sancho. Now, his wages would go up if he was to move to Turkey. So what we're saying here with Jadon Sancho is we've got 3 options all in line. May have to wait until the last knockings of the transfer window for this to go through. But United, again, pre-calculating what they might have to make a bid potentially for Belaba would be Jadon Sancho wants Juventus. They are still confident they can move the players on that they need to make a bid for Sancho. The agreement is pretty much there, according to what reports have said, but nothing has happened, as Romano said a few weeks ago now. Juventus first, then down to Dortmund. They're willing to bid for Jadon Sancho again. I think last knockings of the window, Gittins obviously out, Sancho in. They love the player, apparently. We'll see. And then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in Turkey is another option. Jose Mourinho, another option as well for Jadon Sancho as well. If everything goes according to plan, Sancho will end up at Juventus. If it doesn't, then he's got the option of Germany and then Turkey. So Turkey will be able to afford his wages. I think that's clear. They are the ones that have been bidding the best for Jadon Sancho on the personal side of things, according to all of the reports anyway. So that, I think, is where we're at with Jadon Sancho. And again, even if that brings you in another 10, 15 million and the wage is gone, that's enough for Manchester United, alongside a Malacia, who will end up going for peanuts, but his wage is gone. Rasmus Højlund, gone. Wages off the books, money in. Obviously, Garnacho right at the end. Anthony as well. No updates on Anthony yet either. So all of that happening right now, I think, is obviously massively important for United. It's an accumulation of all of the transfers together get you a Belaba. Not one in particular working better than the other. And it's all going to come down to how Manchester United sort of look at that in the future and gauge whether they're going to get the right amount. So let's see how that works from here anyway. In the chat, everybody, is the link to OK Jerseys, which is where we pick up all of our retro replica kits for every single football club out there, including Manchester United. Check out that link in the description, everybody. All of the best gear that you can get, all replica kits there, training kits, everything, reasonable prices. Go check them out. They're there in the chat. Obviously, check out the description as well for all of our other partners as well. Match Bingo. Also, hitting that QR code on the screen there to get downloading the Match Bingo app. Give yourself a chance of playing bingo, watching the game, and earning yourself 300 quid. More on that when I get back to the studio tomorrow and all of the deals that are coming up as well. Let's just check through the news quickly. Amorim is already at Old Trafford. He can't wait to get going, can he? Amorim is there. Sesko is in, by the way. He wanted to play in the game today. He made himself available. United had to tell him no. What a man. So now I will see you later on after the game, unless there is anything breaking, but I cannot see it today with the game being on. I will see you after the game later on with my match reaction. I'll be watching it somewhere, wherever I can, and then giving you my thoughts on that, and we're getting your views on that within that video as well, everybody. So that's the next content coming up. Like I said, if anything does break, I'll be there. But match day is next. Like I said, Ruben's already in place, getting ready to go. That's it for now, everyone. Thank you so much. Please give the video a like on the way out. We're over 700 likes, which is mega. Thank you again. Hit that subscribe button, people, and get your comments in after the live is finished. I'll have a good check through them later on as well. But for now, cheers, everyone.